Key Bar Rule Series. Remedies.
At law, damages. Torts. Compensatory damages aim to put plaintiff in the position he would have been in had the injury not occurred. Special damages are those that are unique to the plaintiff, including medical bills and lost wages. Punitive damages are reserved for extreme and outrageous conduct in order to deter future misconduct. Nominal damages are symbolic damages, often $1, which validate a plaintiff's rights, and are awarded when no actual or substantial harm is proven. Contracts. Expectation damages. Expectation damages aim to put plaintiff in the position he would have been in had the contract not been breached. Expectation damages measure the benefit of the bargain. For the sale of property, this is typically measured by the difference between the fair market or cover price and the contract price. For services not rendered, this is typically measured by the cost of substitute performance. Limitations to damages. Contracts. All damages are subject to limitations due to certainty, causation, foreseeability, and mitigation. Causation. Contracts causation requires that the breach actually caused the loss. Certainty. Certainty requires that the losses be measured with reasonable certainty and not too speculative. Lost business profits can be reasonably estimated from past performance, but are likely not recoverable for a new business with no track record. Foreseeability. In tort, foreseeability mirrors the proximate causation analysis and requires that the harm be a reasonably foreseeable consequence of the defendant's conduct. In contract, the rule of Hadley requires that the loss was within the contemplation of the parties at the time of contracting. Avoidable consequences. A plaintiff is required to take reasonable steps to mitigate damages, such as obtaining cover or substitute performance. TRO. A TRO is an emergency order that preserves the status quo for up to 15 days until a preliminary injunction hearing. The moving party must 1. Give notice to the non-moving party of the TRO unless they can establish ex parte TRO by showing immediate and irreparable harm supported by an affidavit or verified complaint, and certification of the reasons why notice should not be required. 2. Show a likelihood of success on the merits of the underlying claim. 3. Prove that they will suffer irreparable harm before a preliminary injunction can be obtained, and 4. Establish that the balance of hardships favors the plaintiff. It is not appealable. Preliminary injunction. A preliminary injunction is a court order that preserves the status quo until final judgment is entered. The moving party must 1. Give notice and an opportunity for a hearing to the non-moving party. 2. Show a likelihood of success on the merits of the underlying claim. 3. Prove that they will suffer irreparable harm absent the injunction, and 4. Establish that the balance of hardships favors the plaintiff. It is immediately appealable. Permanent injunction. An injunction is an in personam order issued by a court of equity that requires a party to act or refrain from acting. It is backed by the contempt power. The court must consider the inadequacy of legal remedies, irreparable harm, the balance of hardships, the feasibility of enforcement, and the public interest. Specific performance. Specific performance is an in personam order issued by a court of equity that requires a party to perform their obligation under a contract. It is backed by the contempt power. The court must consider 1. Valid contract with 2. Certain terms and 3. Conditions satisfied. 4. The inadequacy of legal remedies. 5. Mutuality of performance. 6. Feasibility of enforcement. And 7. Lack of defenses including unclean hands and latches. Rescission. Rescission is an equitable remedy that allows a party to void a contract due to lack of valid consent. Grounds for rescission include fraud, misrepresentation, mistake, duress, or undue influence. Reformation. A court of equity will rewrite a contract that fails to reflect the true intent of the parties, such as when there is a scrivener's error. A contract may also be reformed if there is a unilateral mistake where one party knew of the mistake and failed to correct it. Constructive trust. A constructive trust is an equitable remedy in which the defendant is deemed to hold the property for the benefit of the plaintiff. To qualify, the plaintiff must trace the unjust enrichment to the purchase of property obtained by the defendant. If granted, the plaintiff becomes the owner of the property and shares in the appreciation in value.